Hello and welcome back to another Final Fantasy TCG deck spotlight. Today I have the pleasure to bring to you Ultimecia's Toolbox. Now this deck is really focused on the synergy that Water and Ice have together, primarily in the form of Ultimecia, making all their guys come into play tapped and then freezing them. And you have things like Semblance of the Witch or Kuja that can then keep them frozen for even longer after you maybe play a Jihl. So this is absolutely a deck that you must try, but it is very difficult to pilot correctly 100% of the time, so it will take a bit of practice to get used to. But because it is a toolbox, it does have an answer to almost every situation you could ask for. And this did top 8 a 1K event, so it definitely went the distance. The first thing I want to talk about is the Final Fantasy VIII package. If I was going to rename this deck, it would certainly be a FF8 deck at the core because of how well everything works together. The most interesting choice here was the Rinoa backup that lets us tutor the other 3 cards, because by playing it and not having a way to break it, we do lose out on legendary Rinoa. That said, because this deck is so important to have Ultimecia in the field, I do believe it is absolutely worth playing it so that you can tutor it up and get it into the field as soon as possible. The other thing that I really like is that if you have a Squall or Laguna in hand, it allows you to tutor up the other piece, so you can always have 2 9K forwards that are being very aggressive for the deck when you need them to be. And Laguna's Desperado is absolutely amazing with Ultimecia's ability that makes all forwards come into play dulled. Because again, you're going to have a 9K, which is difficult in itself to deal with, but then for the 7,000 damage can kill quite a bit of cards in this current format. So what else do we have that plays well with Ultimecia, or maybe one of the other forwards that can get some value out of it? We again are talking about Snow, Kuja, and Semblance of a Witch. Snow is great for being able to play early since it is only 1 CP to put it into the field, and it gives you the ability to dull a blocker. So their guy is going to come and dull to begin with. You're going to have Snow up so you can dull it again, and there's multiple turns where they just won't have a blocker up. If you're really in a pinch, then you have Kuja who can dull one and freeze another, so you can keep the chain going, and Kuja and Snow together, assuming they don't have something like Guy, can really help continuously clear the way for you. And then lastly, we have Semblance of a Witch. When it comes into play, you get to freeze one of your opponent's forwards. So all 3 of these together in combination with Ultimecia really give you that hard lock for your opponent's forwards. So you do need to see Ultimecia very early on. It is absolutely a key part of the deck, and then these 3 can really help you maximize the value. Moving into some water forwards, we have more of the utility focused. Starting with Ashe, it has the ability to activate itself, which certainly works point blank with Ultimecia's effect. You can play it without being punished, activate if you just really need a blocker when you need it to, but it's also worth noting that it has the ability to get plus 3,000 power when it is chosen by a summon of your opponent, summon or ability, so it doesn't get hurt by Elcid or some of the other ping-based effects that your opponent might be playing. We do play a Fun of Porom, the one that lets you activate all your forwards, so if you really want to and you're in a pinch, you can flood the field with Ultimecia, play the Porom, activate them all, or it just allows you to get around Ultimecia's special, which isn't as relevant because it doesn't come up as often as you would expect, but it is still an out to it. And then lastly, we have a Singleton Cloud of Darkness. This is extremely important for helping against the decks that might want to go wide, because your opponent is going to want to flood the field with Ultimecia's effect so they can try to catch up in damage, and then you can walk them right into a Cloud of Darkness, or what I really love is a Zalera. All very good cards. Then we have some other fun cards with Ice, and then Emperor making his appearance here as well, that gave some interesting choices. We have 2 Terra that when it comes into play, you basically can discard the other one for magic charge and deal 8,000 damage. The one thing I will note here is that while yes, it does give you the opportunity to make a Devout play with this card, I would really like to see this as a 3 of. For how good Ultimecia early is and being able to play into a Terra and kill 2 other things, I absolutely think this is something that you want 3 of. Emperor is our light or dark card here of choice. Being able to shut off your opponent's specials or actions ability can help against those Astrologian or Oracle backups, for example, so your opponent doesn't have the chance to activate when they're coming into play dulled off Ultimecia's effect, which is certainly nice. Again, Genesis 4-drop 7K, so a little bit under the power curve, but his effect again being insane with Ultimecia and just the other cards you're running, with being able to dull and freeze something when he comes into play, and then force discard when he connects. So when you have Ultimecia in play and you have Genesis attacking, they're automatically down a blocker every single turn. So it allows you to take apart your opponent's hand and combat with them on the attrition war that way. And then a 1-of Vayne. Again, the toolbox aspect of this really wants you to have these 1 or 2-ofs that can be very good in some matchups. And then just might not be as great in others, but Vayne plays an interesting role here. With the popularity of decks such as Knights, where they're playing the big Deleta, you just really don't want to have to deal with those cards, and they have Steiner and some other valuable 5-drops that playing a Vayne early to cast Devout, so you discard it and another card for Devout, you just leave it in your break zone, maybe your opponent forgets about it, and then you can bring back Vayne later on for value. The list does play 3 Devout, so it's going to be an option. I think that even though it is only a 1-of here, you can make the argument that you may not be likely to see it in certain matchups because they're either over too soon or it's a 1-of, so you have to draw into it. I don't necessarily think that 3 is necessary, but this could absolutely be a 1 to 2 flex spot depending on what your local meta is looking like. For the summon package, we have 3 Shiva, 3 Zalera, and 3 Leviathan. Shiva, great here as well for, again, working well with Ultimecia. It helps set up our Zalera plays, and it's worth noting too that because of Snow, we do have the option to freeze something in combination with 1-drop Snow. Zalera, I think, is just an all-around great card right now. It's very easy to get a 3-for-1 or a 4-for-1 off of it based on some of the decks that are in the meta, and because they have to be dull and you're hint conveniently playing Ultimecia, if they have something like a Pain and then into a Bartz or whatever it might be, they're going to enter the field dulled and you can just Zalera your opponent. It feels absolutely amazing. And then Leviathan here is just a key bounce spell. Again, when things are either dull or frozen, your opponent might try to find a way to activate them, or it's just another way to keep the tempo plays going where your opponent is going to be further and further behind. A card that really deserves its own mention, though, is Jihl. We all know how good Jihl is. It's been great since Opus 1, and it's certainly not going anywhere anytime soon. It's an EX burst, the special is great as well, but when it enters the field, choose up to 2 forwards and freeze them. I cannot tell you how many times in our play testing and then both in the duel series that I was able to have an Ultimecia early. I had a play where I would have been able to cast Jihl the next turn. Luckily, Matt was able to Zidane it away at perfect timing, but it's just a way to show that they're going to try to get forwards in the field. You have a way to freeze them, and they're going to be extremely far behind if they don't have maybe their own Porom to activate everything, or an Oracle if they're really in a pinch. That the combination that Jihl and Ultimecia together is absolutely the reason that you want to try Water Ice. I think that this is only going to get better in the next set. I think there's a few maybe flex picks here that we could tweak for your local meta, but I'm very excited to watch this deck grow in future sets. Beyond that, we have just more of a typical water backup. We have 2 Astrologian. Again, activating our own guys is certainly really good when, you know, Ultimecia makes our own guys come into play dulled. Certainly no need for further explanation on that. Artemicion allows us to filter our draws out. Maybe we're seeing part of our toolbox cards that we don't need versus the others. It's a 2-drop water backup, so we can play it early, filter out our hand, and find the cards that we really need. And Scholar is just great for protecting your own forwards. For our interesting backups, we have Minwu. I think this one, no matter what you want to be playing it, you don't want to really suffer against the fire matchups where they have things like VV and you're just really going to get punished by their ping effects. 3 Devout, absolutely no question here. It's a great backup for how many valuable 3 and 4 drops that this deck has. You absolutely want to max out on Devout. And then 1-of Cannoneer. I actually really like this. Yes, it's expensive for the effect, but again, because we have Ultimecia, they come into play dulled. Maybe they're going to try to activate them, then you can dull and freeze them for another turn. It's expensive, but I think it's absolutely worth playing. I might even play this as a 2-of, just because of how great I found it to be when I was able to cast it. And usually you'd want to play this, you know, while you have 3 backups, and then you play it as tap 3 backups, discard a card for 5. But I also am okay with playing this card as discarding 2 cards for it if it means you're getting in those extra points of damage. So that is all we have for this deck spotlight. We really hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, absolute kudos to the player that made top 8 with it at the 1K. I really like this. It's super unique and something that we haven't seen a lot of in the Opus 1. I don't think we saw it any Opus 2, and we're now seeing at the end of Opus 3. So what does this have for Opus 4? What's going to be coming up? Maybe we'll see some monsters that really kind of fit in those missing holes in the deck that can make it good against everything. We will have to wait and see, but this is absolutely a deck that after playing it, I want to keep on my radar and see where it goes. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you'll give it a try at your locals again. If you liked this video, make sure to drop a like. That helps us get the word out there about Final Fantasy TCG. Comment down below kind of what changes that you would make for your local meta. And of course, subscribe for future Final Fantasy trading card game content. So thank you so much for watching, guys, and we'll catch you on the next 6 Sages Gaming video. Have a good one. This video made possible thanks to the Patreon support of viewers such as yourself. Thank you to our honorary sages.